Hey Valley Middle, welcome back to another G67 math video. Tonight we're going to look at how the measures of central tendency change when a value is added or deleted. Let's go ahead and start with taking a look at our trivia question tonight. What is the fastest recorded speed on an unaltered lawnmower? In other words, what's the fastest they've ever got one of those little lawn tractors going with the same motor that it came out of the factory with? All right, tonight officially our target. I can describe the changes to the measures of central tendency when a value is added or deleted. Let's do this thing. All right, we're going to use the same examples tonight that we used last night in video 11.4a so that we can see and compare how the measures of central tendency change when we take a value away or add one. In this example, I bought a package of 12 M&M cookies and counted the number of candies in each. And here was the data. Remember last night they ranged from 3 to 10. I said that the cookie that had 3 M&Ms was kind of an outlier, maybe a mistake. They ran out of M&Ms or something. That one there is going to skew the data just a little bit, I said. So let's tonight take that value of 3 out, that cookie, and forget about it, and look at the mean, the median, and the mode if we just look at the other 11 cookies. So let's start with the median, just like we did last night. I've got those values listed here, and I did some of the work for you. I've kind of already crossed off things, and so when we look at the middle number here, we'll find that our median is 9. Did the median change by the deletion of that value? It didn't. There was 5 nines. We didn't delete a 9. It's still the middle score. The mode didn't change either. We had 5 nines. We still have 5 nines. That is still the mode popular answer. Most popular. All right. The mean, however, did change. When we take out the 3 and we add up the other 11 scores, we have 97. Me add and divide. We have to divide that by 11. That was the total number of values that we had. When we do that, we get 8.81 repeating. The mean changed. This could be rounded to 8 M&Ms per cookie. This one rounds easily to 9 M&Ms per cookie. The range also changed. Last night we had 10 M&Ms minus the 3 was a range of 7. In the blue here, you can see that tonight it's 10 minus 8. The range is only 2. That's because we took the outliers out. All right. This is probably a more accurate representation of how many M&Ms per cookie when you buy a dozen cookies at Byerly's. All right, let's take a look at the vocabulary for tonight. The measures of central tendency. Remember, that's that single value that tells how a group of data cluster around a center value. For instance, the median, that middle number. Median sounds like middle. Mode, the most popular, or as I like to say, the mode popular. It helps me remember it. I know there's stupid kids, but that's what I am. The mean or average. This is that Yoda one. Me add and divide, strong with the Jedi. That's right. It works. It works. These two terms we also discussed last night, and they're not measures of central tendency, so to speak, but I think they're important to look at. The range, that's the difference between the highest and lowest values when you put them on a number line, so the high minus the low. And the outlier, that's the scores that don't fit in the general cluster of data. They're just way out there. That's why I've got that out capitalized. Help me remember what an outlier is. All right, let's take a look at an example here with Max. Once again, I'm sitting in Max making this video. So here are the prices I paid for diesel fuel for Max in the last few weeks. $1.03, $2.09, $2.14, $2.19, $2.29, and $2.29. Describe the data using the measures of central tendency. Well, I put down that there's this outlier that wasn't there last night. That's $1.03, and you're saying, no way. Yes, I paid $1.03 per gallon for gas because I had a 50-cent coupon, plus my Super America card got me $1.06 off one day when I went in to buy gas, so I only paid $1.03 per gallon. Let's see how that impacts the measures of central tendency. So the median, now I have to add that score in. So I've kind of started it. I've listed out my 6 values from smallest to largest, and I started hacking them off in the middle, and I'll just kind of finish it here. And it looks like we're going to be right in between $2.14 and $2.19. And if you do that in a calculator, you add these two together and divide them by 2, you'll find that the middle ground is 2.165 or $2.16.5. We're going to round that to $2.17. So in this case, by adding that value, the median or that middle score changed from $2.19 per gallon to $2.17 per gallon. The median went down. The mode, it didn't change. It was still $2.29 per gallon. That was the most popular price I paid. The mean changed, and you knew it would because I added in this $1.03 a gallon diesel fuel. So when you put all of those together, you add all of those prices up, it's $12.03. When I take the $12.03 and I divide it by the number of values entered, which is 6, I get 2.005. The average price per gallon was $2.20 without that added value. With that added value, it's 2.005, like $2.50. We're going to round that and call it $2.01. You can see that the mean was drastically changed by 19 cents when we added in that outlier, that low gas I got with the coupon. All right, the range, of course, changed too. The range was 20 cents before, and now it's $1.26. And again, that's because we added this additional value. Now, when you add an additional value, it doesn't always have to be an outlier. If it's not, it probably won't change that much. But if you add in an outlier or take away one, you're going to get a bigger change in the mean, the median, and mode, especially in the mean. All right, time for you to try an example. Remember when Tara went trick-or-treating? All right, same problem. Tara went trick-or-treating at 7 houses on her street. She received the following number of treats at the various houses. Describe the data using the measures of central tendency. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So, you remember she got the bag of 30 pieces of candy from the one neighbor? Well, that was definitely an outlier. So let's take that guy off right there and look at the other 6 scores, and you find the measures of central tendency. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, let's see what happened. Once again, I'm going to have our scores from last night in red and today's scores in blue. So when I take away that 30 and I list them out, I only have from 1 to 4, and I find out that my median score is still 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. So my middle is right in between 3 and 3, which is 3. The median was unchanged. The mode, that was unchanged too. 3 was still the most common number of pieces of candy handed out, the most popular. The mean, however, changed. Remember last night? She was getting 2, 3, and 4 pieces of candy, but because of that oddball, that outlier of 30, the whole bag of candy, the average was 6.5 pieces. That wasn't a realistic average. When we take that outlier out and we just add the 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, these other 6 values, we have a total of 16. When we divide 16 by 6, it's 2.6. My average is 2.6 pieces of candy, or 2.6 repeating, I should say. So you can see that the average changed a lot. That mean did, by deleting that outlier. The range, of course, as well, because we had 29 was our range before. We had 30 minus 1 was a range of 29 pieces. Get rid of the outlier, delete that value, and the range comes down to 3. Okay? Without the 30 in there, everything else is kind of in that cluster of 1 to 4 pieces. You know, the 1 was a little bit of an outlier, but not really when you have values of 2. So I wouldn't delete any of those. I wouldn't call the 1 an outlier. Okay? All right, time for you to try one more example on your ticket to the show. Remember last night we looked at these? Well, describe how the measures of central tendency will change if we remove the outlier score of 85. So get rid of student number 10 here. Now you're going to have 9 values. Here were the answers from last night. The mean was 27, the median was 22.5, and the mode was 30. Now, before you calculate it, I want you to predict what's going to happen to the mean with this value deleted. What's going to happen to the median, do you think? What do you think will happen to the mode? Go ahead and make those predictions. That's really the guts of this lesson. And then see if you can figure it out, see if you're right. All right, let's get the answer to that trivia question. What was the fastest recorded speed on an unaltered lawnmower? 98 or 92? 98 kilometers per hour, 61 miles per hour by Tommy Pasamante, it looks like. It was on November 18th, 2008 in Utah. Can you imagine driving down the highway and all of a sudden a guy in a lawnmower passes you? That's 61 miles per hour. Most highways are at 55 miles per hour. It would be kind of crazy. And I think I'd want some body protection other than just the helmet if I was going 61 miles per hour on a lawnmower. All right, thanks for listening. Have a great evening. Bye.